I sent one message after the crash. My son and I are alive. In the hospital. Please pray for us. Not a single reply. But my sister tagged everyone in a post that said, family is everything. Except us. 3 days later, 48 missed calls from Dad. One message, pick up now. I finally did. And what I heard made me cut them off. They say trauma reveals who your people really are. I found out mine while lying in a hospital bed, unable to move, staring at the ceiling with tubes in my arm and dried blood in my hair. It happened on a Sunday. Milo and I were driving back from a quiet weekend at the lake house. Just me and my son. It was supposed to be one of those peaceful resets. Fishing old cartoons, s'mores before bed. He was asleep in the back seat with a stuffed otter in his arms. The light was green. I remember that clearly. I wasn't speeding. I wasn't distracted. But none of that mattered. The truck ran the red light so fast it didn't even brake. The sound was an explosion of metal, glass, screaming. And then it was just pain. I don't know how I managed to unlock my phone. I only typed one thing before the screen blurred. My son and I are alive. In the hospital. Please pray for us. I sent it to the family group chat. Then everything went black. I woke up nearly 2 days later. I see tubes, machines, nurses, the beeping rhythm of survival. I couldn't speak at first. My leg was broken in 3 places. My ribs were cracked. My face was swollen. But none of that mattered when I saw Milo's name on the chart beside mine. They told me he was okay. Surgery had gone well. He'd broken his arm and had a concussion, but he was stable and sleeping. That was the only thing keeping me sane. I asked the nurse if anyone had visited. She said no one had come by. I told myself maybe they were busy. Maybe they didn't know which hospital. Maybe there'd be voicemails or missed calls. Maybe they were waiting outside. I reached for my phone. No missed calls. No messages. Just a notification. Facebook. My sister Kennedy had tagged my parents, cousins, and her husband. The caption said, family is everything, 2 hearts, grateful to spend this weekend with my people. Attached was a carousel of smiling faces. My mom and dad, arms around Kennedy. Everyone drinking margaritas, plates of food, birthday cake. Laughing like nothing in the world was wrong. The timestamp? 5 hours after the accident. I scrolled through the photos, numb. One of them was wearing a shirt I bought last Christmas. Another had used the lake house the weekend before and left beer bottles everywhere. I cleaned them up without saying a word. Not a single one of them had replied to my message. Not even a question mark. That night, while lying in a hospital bed with morphine dulling the pain and Milo still unconscious in another room, I realized something that should have crushed me. But instead, it hardened something inside me. They didn't care. And they weren't coming. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just waited. 3 days passed. Still nothing. Then out of nowhere my phone started blowing up. 48 missed calls from my dad. Back to back. No voicemails. Just one single message. Pick up now. Something was wrong. That kind of panic isn't normal unless someone's in danger. So I picked up. And what he said on that call wasn't what I expected. It wasn't concern. It wasn't guilt. It was something else entirely. Something that made everything shift. Something that made me start planning the very thing I knew I had to do next. When I answered the phone, the first thing I heard wasn't worry. It was yelling. No hello. No, are you okay? Just shouting. My dad was furious. He said I had embarrassed the family. That I was creating drama. That I had put everyone in a bad position. I was so stunned I didn't even speak for the first full minute. I thought maybe he was confused. Maybe he thought I posted something about them online or blamed them publicly. But no. He was talking about the message I sent. The one asking for prayers. Apparently, Kennedy showed it to everyone at the dinner. She thought it was attention-seeking. My mom agreed. They assumed the accident wasn't that serious because if it had been, someone else would have called. They said I was overreacting, and it was unfair to drop something like that into the group chat during a celebration. That was the word that stuck. Unfair. I was in the ICU. Milo had just had pins put in his arm. We'd nearly died. But what really upset them was how my message made their dinner uncomfortable. I remember just sitting there, listening, letting them talk, letting them dig themselves deeper. At one point my dad said, "You need to fix this. Apologize to your sister. She's hurt." I didn't even hang up. I just let the call end when he was done talking. I didn't respond. I didn't message back. I didn't say anything at all. But in that exact moment I knew what I was going to do. And it started with one very simple step. I was done helping them. What no one outside the family knew was that I'd been supporting my parents for years. I paid part of their mortgage every month. Quietly. I'd co-signed the car Kennedy was driving. I'd sent money when their heater broke, when their dog needed surgery, when Kennedy accidentally maxed out her credit card and didn't want her husband to know. I never told anyone. I just did it because I thought that's what family did. Turns out that only worked one way. So I called my bank and started pulling things apart. Slowly, carefully, like undoing stitches. I scheduled a meeting with my financial advisor. I checked the documents on the car. Everything was in my name. Every cent could be traced back to me. They depended on me. And for the first time I didn't feel guilty. I felt awake. A few days after I got home from the hospital, Kennedy texted, "Hey, hope you're better. When can we talk? Dad said you were being dramatic. I didn't mean to hurt you. You know I love Milo. Let's just get past this. Also, my car payment bounced?" I didn't answer. I was already setting the next phase in motion. Because they weren't just going to lose me. They were about to lose everything I'd been holding up for years. I started small. First, I stopped the automatic transfers that covered the last third of my parents' mortgage. My dad had always acted like he was the one helping me, like I still owed them for raising me. Truth was, they'd have lost that house 5 years ago without me. I never told anyone. I just made sure the payment went through each month. Quiet, behind the scenes. I canceled it with one click. Then I removed my name from the utilities I had co-signed when their credit was shot. I let the balances go back to their rightful owners. The text came fast after that. From my mom first. "Hey sweetheart, your father and I are confused. The bank called. Did something happen? You didn't lose your job, did you?" I left it on read. Kennedy was next. "I just got a notice from the DMV. Did you take the car back? I need that car. You can't do this to me, Freya." And I did. I'd co-signed her lease when she lied about making enough income. She promised it would just be for a year. That was 3 years ago. I sent a termination request to the leasing company with proof that she'd violated the terms. She hadn't paid car insurance in 3 months. They took the car back in 5 days. Meanwhile, I made sure Milo was healing. His cast was heavy and he had nightmares for a while, but he was okay. I switched my number to a new one. Only 3 people got it. None of them were blood. But even with all the cut ties, I wasn't done. Not yet. See, I'd been more involved in their lives than even they realized. Their credit still looked decent because of the accounts I was quietly managing under my name. My parents' second phone line? Still under my family plan. My sister's emergency credit card? I closed every single one of them. And that's when the real chaos began. Kennedy posted again. Something vague and dramatic. Crazy how people can turn on you like that. You give them everything and they stab you in the back. The irony would have been hilarious if it wasn't so pathetic. A week later, I got an email from my dad. A full essay. He said they had no idea the accident had been that bad. Said they were just trying to protect the mood during the dinner. Said I'd taken things too far. That they were still my family and deserved another chance. Then came the part that nearly made me laugh. "We're struggling right now, Freya. Your mother's health isn't great. We might lose the house. Your sister's in over her head. You're the only one who can fix this." He had no idea how much deeper it was going to get. Because I still hadn't told them the one thing that would break whatever illusion they were clinging to. That house. The one I'd been helping them keep. They didn't know I was on the title. And I had just made a decision. They were going to lose more than just the money. They never once asked how Milo was doing. Not in a real way. Not beyond a lazy hope he's better, tacked onto a message about money. That detail mattered to me more than anything else. Told me everything I needed to know. 2 weeks after we got home, my dad showed up at my door unannounced. I didn't open it. I watched from the hallway camera as he paced, talked on the phone, knocked again. He looked smaller than I remembered. Not fragile. Just exposed. He finally texted. "We need to talk face to face. This has gone far enough." I replied with one sentence. "Check the paperwork before you come back." That was the moment the panic set in for them. See, years ago when my parents were on the brink of foreclosure, I didn't just send money. The bank wouldn't accept it unless I had legal standing. So my name went on the house. Quietly. My parents told everyone it was a temporary technicality. Then they forgot about it. Or assumed I'd never use it. They never asked questions. That was their mistake. By the end of that week, my dad finally figured it out. He left a voicemail this time. His voice was shaking. Not apologetic. Afraid. He said I couldn't do this. Said the house was their retirement. Said my mother was sick. Said family doesn't do this to each other. I didn't respond. He said I called the lawyer. Everything I did after that was clean, documented, legal. No yelling. No threats. Just steps. The kind that can't be undone once they start. The house went into a forced sale. I offered them options. They ignored every single one until it was too late. They thought I was bluffing. They thought I'd break like I always did. Kennedy finally called from a blocked number. She cried. She said she didn't mean what she said about the accident. She said she'd been stressed. She said she needed help. She said Milo deserved his grandparents. I asked her one question. Where were you when he was in surgery? She didn't answer. The house sold fast. The market was good. What they didn't realize was that the proceeds didn't go where they thought. After debts were cleared, what remained went to the account tied to my name. I didn't take everything. I took enough. Enough that they couldn't buy another place. Enough that they had to scramble. Enough that they finally understood what it felt like to reach out and get nothing back. The begging started after that. Emails. Calls. Messages sent through cousins. Through church friends. Through people who suddenly remembered my name. I blocked them all. The last message I ever read was from my mom. She said she was sorry they didn't come to the hospital. She said they never thought it would be this serious. She said she missed her grandson. I stared at it for a long time. Then I deleted it. Because sorry doesn't undo absence. And they were about to learn what permanent really means. After the sale went through, the silence from their side turned frantic. It shifted from guilt to desperation in days. They didn't have a plan. They never had one. Because deep down they always believed I'd come back. That I'd cool off. That I'd do what I'd always done. Solve their messes quietly, make sure no one found out how bad things really were. But I didn't. Not this time. My mom moved into Kennedy's place temporarily, which didn't last long. Two women who only know how to blame each other can't survive under one roof. Kennedy ended up posting vague things again. Quotes about betrayal, prayers for strength, how some people forget who helped them climb. He didn't tag me, but everyone knew. My dad rented a one-bedroom near the industrial park. He told everyone it was by choice. He even made it sound like they were downsizing for retirement. I didn't correct the story. Let him have his pride. Pride doesn't pay rent. Milo asked about them once. Just once. He said, why didn't Grandma come see me when I was hurt? I told him the truth. He didn't want to. He didn't ask again. We built something better after that. We made our own quiet rituals. Saturday pancakes, puzzles, long walks with the dog I adopted just for him. The kind of simple, steady things that no one ever gave me growing up. I didn't let my bitterness bleed into our space. I just kept moving forward. But the last loose thread was the trust fund. Another secret they didn't know. Years ago I'd put aside money for Milo. Not much at first, but enough to grow. My parents assumed the savings account was theirs to use, if needed. My mom even hinted once that she could borrow from it for dental work. What they didn't know was that I'd transferred it long ago into a protected fund under Milo's name. Untouchable. Locked until he turned 21. They had no access, no claim, no idea. It was the one thing I'd built fully out of reach from their hands. I got a final email from Kennedy just before Christmas. She said they were at the lowest point they'd ever been. She said she didn't know how to pay rent. She said her credit was wrecked, her car was gone, her marriage was falling apart. He said, please, just help me get through this month. I'll pay you back. I promise. I stared at it. She never mentioned Milo. Not once. I archived the email. Then I booked a trip. Just me and Milo. Somewhere warm. Somewhere we'd never been. I didn't post about it. I didn't share photos. I didn't give them anything to look at or twist or envy. Just silence. The kind they gave me when it mattered most. And it was in that silence that I finally understood. I never owed them anything. Not my money. Not my time. Not even an explanation. It was nearly a year to the day since the crash when I got the envelope. No return address, but the handwriting was my dad's. Inside was a handwritten letter. Pages long. His words were slower this time. Less angry. He said they'd lost the apartment. That my mom was staying with a cousin an hour away. That he was sleeping in his car. He said they didn't want money, just a chance. He asked if they could meet Milo. Even just once. He ended with something that stuck with me. We made mistakes, but we're still your family. That has to count for something. I read it twice. Then a third time. Then I lit it on fire in the sink. Because it did count. Counted that when my child was in a hospital bed with pins in his arm and a concussion, they posted margarita pictures. It counted that no one showed up. No one called. No one asked if he'd even survived. They wanted forgiveness without accountability. And they were used to getting it. From everyone. Especially me. But not this time. Not after I'd rebuilt everything they tried to hollow out of me. I moved. Quietly. No big goodbye. No final message. I sold the old house, bought a smaller one farther upstate. Better schools. Bigger yard. Milo started drawing again. Sleeping through the night. Laughing like nothing ever happened. A few mutual relatives tried reaching out. One even said I was being too extreme. That blood is blood. I asked her a question she couldn't answer. If I had died in that crash, would they have even come to the funeral? She never responded. Last week, Milo brought home a drawing from school. It was a picture of our house. Just me, him, and our dog. The sun was way too big. The sky was purple. But I saw it for what it was. A life that didn't have any empty chairs in it. A life that was full even without them. And for the first time I didn't feel bitter. I didn't feel angry. I felt free. Completely, finally free. Finally free. Finally free.